much of what you've been doing in recent years comes from what you've studied in the fields of positive psychology and self-science. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, when I first started in business, I realized that if you don't have a real positive attitude and you don't think about winning, and the ability to buy food depends on it, you start to realize that you have to have a good attitude every day, even if you don't want to have a good attitude. There's days I did not want to have a good attitude, but I knew I'm going to sell bread, or I'm going to sell paint, or I'm going to encourage people to come to my restaurant. You have to overcome those things and learn that in spite of how you currently feel, you have to have a positive outlook and a hopeful outlook. And so I practiced that early on, that always thinking big and always having a hopeful outlook, gave me the energy I needed at the moment to do the things I needed to do. So I started looking into positive psychology and emotional intelligence, and it really, I got drawn into it because it was new to me, and it was like, wow, you can practice to be a positive thinker. And I started to look at people like Tony Robbins and Zig Ziglar and all these motivational speakers, and I'd be like, man, someday I want to be that. That is just so cool. And just the way to live like that. And I started to practice that, and I live that way now. I always have a hopeful outlook. So positive psychology is really the science of positive. How do positive people get things done in such a negative world? And then we look at self-science, and I started to read books and study how to improve yourself. And why do we do the things we do, and why don't we do the things we should be doing? And I started to learn that, and I started to look at myself and say, hey, how do I make the changes I need to make to be the type of person that I could be? So I've been involved in that type of information and study for about 25 years. And it really manifested even into my spirituality. I mean, my spirituality elevated because of that, because I realized early on that if I don't have that peace in me, then I'm lacking that strength. So that came about through that study of self-science. So it's really powerful stuff.